Stay tuned because next up is Village Properties Realtor and host of the HOP, that's Home Ownership Podcast, David Charles Allen, here with the latest real estate news in Santa Barbara.
Welcome to the HOP. This is David Charles Allen, Realtor at Village Properties in Santa Barbara, California, with my great friend and co-host, Patti Teal. I'm doing wonderful today, Patti. How you doing?
I'm doing well too, David.
Good. We got a little bit more rain over here, but looking ahead, it looks like sunny skies in the high 50s to low 60s. So it's been nice just having the sun out. We feel like we haven't gotten used to the sun recently.
You guys have had so much rain. So I know you talked last week about the beautiful landscape and the flowers and how green everything is. So it just must be delightful.
Yeah, the weeds just seem to be growing like a foot a day. It's wild.
It is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and then there's been a couple really fun days after storm surf. So we'll see how that turns out this upcoming week.
So definitely a little slice of heaven that you all are experiencing in Santa Barbara.
That's right. And in terms of how interest rates perform, we have the good news over there too. We're down to 5.375 for 30-year jumbo and 6% for 30-year conforming. So again, a slight downgrade from last week. We haven't seen under 6% for conventional in, I feel like, quite some time. So I don't know, depending where you read and what you read, some say it's going to go up and some say they're going to start cooling them. So who knows?
I know, boy, you have to be careful what you read because some things are so doom and gloom and you can get the total opposite. So choose your news carefully.
That's right. Or just don't watch the news at all.
Right. Even safer.
Right. And then in terms of how listings have performed, 32 new listings, 6 price changes, 34 closed, 23 that went pending, 5 back on the market, and 5 that are coming soon. So a little buildup of the supply in terms of new listings versus pendings. But again, 32 new listings isn't going to get us very far.
No. But I guess any increase in the 30s is better than it has been for a while.
Yeah, I think we really haven't seen a lot of increase in specific neighborhoods too, where you get like 4 homes at once come up in the same neighborhood. It's very sporadic. So you get one neighborhood a week. It's kind of wild.
Oh, that is different, isn't it?
It's very different.
So people just have to be open-minded and maybe they'll discover a neighborhood they didn't know they'd love.
I think that's it. Or just kind of wait and see whatever's the best approach for you. There's so many different options you can kind of go with.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Any question of the day for me?
Well, David, we've talked about the subject of ADUs before, but I happened to watch a special on, I don't know if it was Netflix or where it was, but it was Elon Musk's company, or at least I think he's involved with it, the tiny homes. And he has one, I think it's called Boxable. And they showed a warehouse in Las Vegas. It was fascinating. And these tiny homes, they would stack them like Legos. So you could get a bottom floor. And then later on, if you decided you wanted to expand, you could get the next level and put it right on top of it or make it longer. It was really amazing. And I wondered about these types of tiny homes being used as ADUs, or if people could even get a little piece of land, maybe out in Santa Ynez, and put a tiny home on it. What do you know about the topic?
It's very tough, interesting topic. I mean, it would make a lot of sense if you could put a modular home or some type of home if you have a bunch of land. But I know California and some cities are pretty restrictive in terms of even having tiny homes. I remember reading an article even in Idaho where some lady bought a tiny home and rented out like part of the land. And the city said, you can't live here, or like $10,000 fine, or we're going to take your home because it's not permitted as a home. So it's a very interesting subject in terms of what people can do and what they can't do. I think even in California, you can't even have a modular home put in on your own land or even like a trailer without some kind of approval. So
that is very interesting. So I started reading about the regulations, and it seems like some cities, but I'm not sure if that includes Santa Barbara, it might have been San Luis Obispo, are allowing the tiny homes, but only when you put them on a permanent foundation.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember I had a client looking into buying like a piece of land and wanted to put like a couple tiny homes that were movable. And I was like, I just don't even know if you can, or if you can, they might try and get you in trouble. Like, it's just one of those things where there's so many weird things what you can do on your own land.
Well, maybe as the housing problems continue, maybe Santa Barbara and other places will take a second look at that because they are very energy efficient and some of them look pretty solid and they're not really ugly, or at least the ones that I saw on this Boxable site. Not that I work for them or anything, but it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think the issue is the neighbors most of the time too.
Oh,
Because if you allow like one tiny home, what's stopping someone from buying an acre and putting 10 on there, you know?
yeah. I was just going to say there are some tiny home villages and even some nonprofits that are trying to put together tiny home villages to solve problems. There's one for homeless veterans and things like that. And then there was a really interesting program, and it was in Santa Barbara where high school students, as part of their shop class, were learning to put together tiny homes. And I guess 4 students could build one in 2 weeks, and that was just with an hour a day.
I think another hindrance too is why they don't want them is the whole sewage issue. It's like, where's the sewage going to go? Are they going to connect it to the main pipes, or are they going to be constantly hauling stuff back and forth or having like a truck come pick it up? So that's kind of the aspects I'm thinking is why it hasn't happened more. The cleanliness of it in terms of where your waste is going to go, and then just how many homes are you going to stack in one place, and is there resources for that?
Good things to think about, David. I never even had a thought about the sewage, but that is kind of an important thing to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's maybe why San Luis Obispo says you can have one, but it has to be a fixed foundation in a sense, for that reason.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Well, more to think about.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about our fur babies. How are yours doing?
Everyone's doing really great right now, just loving life. A couple of them love the rain, a couple don't.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about treats that we give our dogs. I know I had mentioned before to you a certain treat that my dog really likes, but you knew the ingredients and that they're not all that healthy. So I wondered if you could give us some tips on what to watch out for.
Mostly just read the back of the label. If there's things you can't understand, it usually means it's probably not that good for your dog. Just because a lot of these treats, they are made and stored in these warehouses and they're made on like a mass scale. So they have to have typically a lot of preservatives in them. Otherwise they'd go bad and they wouldn't be able to sell them. So I always recommend giving your dog fresh treats that you can make yourself, or something with minimal ingredients. Maybe just one preservative in there that's a natural preservative. A lot of people just don't read the labels.
And as you said, if it's a word you don't know and you can't pronounce, it's probably not good.
It doesn't mean it's not good. It just means like, hey, maybe I should look into it and understand and gain more knowledge of what it is. And I think that's just part of being a pet owner, is kind of knowing what you're putting into your dog and researching things that you kind of just like, oh, well, everyone's doing it, I'll just do it too, and overlook it. If you feed your pet well, they're going to have a healthier life and live longer, and hopefully less vet bills and less expenses in the long run.
Yeah. So very similar to what you look at for people labels.
Yeah, but you can put way more stuff in dogs' things too.
Oh.
Yeah, like canola oil, you shouldn't be feeding them canola oil. Usually it's genetically modified, like corn oil. There's some basics. Once you start researching it, you can dive into it a little bit more. But they don't necessarily make dog treats very well, essentially. People treat them like they're a dog, you know? They don't treat them like they should be fed like a dead carcass or something like that.
Right. Oftentimes the dog likes it, so we think it's fine, but that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. A lot of the dog food companies too, they get product from these big meat producers that have animals that aren't fit for human consumption. So they put them in dog food, essentially. So
right. Yeah. And another sad topic. I know animal cancers have really gone up a lot from, say, when I was a kid. It was very rare for a dog to get cancer, but anymore you hear of it so much. And I think a lot of it is just the toxic environment, let alone what we might feed them, but just taking a walk where a yard has been sprayed. There's just a lot to be concerned about.
Yeah, I think a huge issue is food too. And what you put into your dog is what comes back out of them, essentially. Bigger dogs always get more problems sooner, it seems like. And then the small dogs really don't get problems. And it always it relates back to my thinking of, well, the bigger dogs are eating more of the bad food and the smaller dogs are eating less. So It hits them quicker. Like all this toxicity kind of hits the big dogs quicker because you're feeding them more stuff that they probably don't need or shouldn't be eating.
Yeah.
It's crazy because it's expensive to feed your dog the right way and not everyone's able to do it. So you kind of just got to do your best and just give them love no matter what. But it's hard to feed them extremely well, especially if it's a big dog. Either right into doing less for yourself or you kind of just go the route how a lot of people are doing it, which is what they can afford.
Right. Well, David, as we close today, I just want to remind people that if they'd like to get a hold of you to talk real estate or to show them homes or tell them what's available, and also if you're a dog lover, you guys can have a great conversation about all things dogs and how to keep them healthy. So, David, what is your phone number?
805-617-9311. And my email is david@davidcharlesallen.com.
Thank you so much, David. You have a great week.
All right, Patty, you too.
Bye.